Welcome to today's class. It's Thursday. Again, if you'll see the revised syllabus, we're going to have a test on next Tuesday. I put it on Monday, but I'm going to change it to Tuesday. So it'll be next Tuesday. We'll have our test number one. A lot of them will be on the lectures and the videos we saw. So one of the test questions might be, when scoring a game in baseball, what number do you assign the right fielder? And the answer is 9, because if you've watched the video, you've seen what we're talking about. And again, go back to the message boards, because the message boards are clearly something that a lot of you are not doing. If we just look at the message boards now, if I'm still logged in, again, there's 20 of you in the class. Not having very many responses on the last 3 days. So we want to get those. Again, that's worth 50 points. If you don't participate throughout, you'll lose less points. But assignment number 2, which will be posted here shortly, deals with this video discussion. And so we want to watch this discussion now, and this will be your Thursday discussion, but I'm posting it on Wednesday so that you can get ahead. But it's talking about getting ready for a broadcast. So you're going to pretend like you are calling a game this weekend for ESPN or for local radio for the College World Series. You cannot do Texas Tech, but I'm going to use Texas Tech as an example of how you get things ready. So what I want you to do in the assignment, and this will be written on Blackboard, I want you to give me 3 to 4 tidbits about Texas Tech, or I'm going to do it about Texas Tech, and then I want you to do it for any other 7 teams in the College World Series. That would be Michigan, that would be Arkansas, that would be Florida State, that would be Vanderbilt, that would be Louisville, that would be Mississippi State, or that would be Auburn. So those are the 8 teams. How about that? Got that off the top of my head. And give me some information, like you're doing some prep work about these teams. So let's take, for example, to show you just some ways to do it, and you can do it any way you want, Texas Tech. So I'm going to go to the Texas Tech homepage. I've already clicked on baseball. And so one of the things I would do is just go to look about some stories about Texas Tech baseball. So if you go here, I know this website. You know here that there would be all the news would be listed there. So I get some stories already that I can see. Josh Young tabbed for the Bobby Bragan Slugger Award. So he won that award. So that's something to talk about when you're talking about Josh. Josh Young, Cameron Warren collect All-America honors by Baseball America. See that right there. And then here's some stories about the win over Oklahoma State to return to Omaha. But right now I wanted to do things about the team. So one of the things I would look for right here, I'd see 3 more Red Raiders drafted on final day. So I know this is the final story of draft day. And I would look, see 3 more members of the Texas Tech baseball program were selected on the final day of the 2019 Major League Baseball draft on Wednesday, bringing the total to 7 overall picked by 6 different Major League Baseball clubs. So one of the things I would talk about, hey, this is a talented Texas Tech team, 7 players drafted in the Major League Baseball draft. So you've got something there you put right there. So one of the first tidbits would be, hey, this is a team that 7 of these guys already going on to the next level after they're done in the College World Series. Here's something else that's interesting down below. Tim Tadlock has had 48 student athletes drafted in the draft in the 7 years that he's been there at Texas Tech. So when you're talking about the team and you're talking about Coach Tadlock, you'd say how he develops players to go on to do other things. So already you've got a couple of points there about the program. One of the things that you know is that Texas Tech plays in the Big 12. So you want to go to Big 12 sports, and you want to click on sports baseball, and we already saw the main story there is on 6 players named. It's the College World, 6 players named All-American. We already know about 2 of them. Here's something else about Josh Young. that you can put in Josh's notes. But here's what I'm looking over here on the right. You see Texas Tech won the league. We know, if we did some research, Texas Tech has been the Big 12 regular season champs 3 of the last 4 years of the conference. The only year they weren't were last year. So they won 2016, 2017, and 2019. Texas Tech has been Big 12 champions. So that's something else you could talk about. This is a team that's been dominant in the Big 12. 3 of the last 4 years, Texas Tech has won the Big 12. Now, this is the first year that Texas Tech has been in the College World Series. 4th time overall that Texas Tech is the only Big 12 school in the College World Series. In years past, last year Texas was there. The year before that we were there, Oklahoma State and TCU were both there. And in 2014, TCU was there in Omaha along with Texas Tech. So this is the first time in our 4 years, 4 different times we've been there, that Texas Tech is the only Big 12. The other things I would throw in, this has been a great athletic year for Texas Tech, and just by looking at their website, I would know Texas Tech won the national championship in track and field. Texas Tech won the Big 12 in basketball. Texas Tech played in the national championship game in basketball. So a story you would tell about Texas Tech is all of the relative success of Texas Tech. And one last thing I would do, I've already clicked on this for the stats. I'd kind of like to see where Texas Tech is amongst the leaders in the Big 12. So they're second, had the second best batting average amongst all the Big 12 teams. One of the things that I would really look at, though, is things that stand out to you. If you look here, right over here, Texas Tech is not really a team. Sacrifice hits, SH is sacrifice hits. Texas Tech, that's bunting, sacrifice bunts. Texas Tech is not a team that bunts very much, so that's something you would know for your prep. One way that you can tell how a team does beyond just their batting average is the number of runs they've scored. Texas Tech, by a long margin, by a wide margin, has more runs than any other team in the Big 12. And it's not necessarily apples to oranges. Baylor played 8 less games, but if you look at TCU, played the same number of games as Texas Tech. Oklahoma State played 1 less game, and Tech has nearly 100 more runs than those teams had. So you know this is a pretty good offensive team. And then you look on top of that, they're the second best pitching team in the league, as you see right there underneath West Virginia, the second best ERA in the league. And we're going to talk about terminology next week. ERA, earned run average. So Texas Tech pitching staff allows 3.9 earned runs per game. And if you did the math, and you could actually look at it somewhere else, Texas Tech obviously scoring many more runs per game than that. Because if you look at the number of earned runs, 241, 289 runs total. If you don't know the difference between earned run and a regular run, we can also go over that next week as well. We're going to talk about all sports and some terminology to know in all sports. All right, so what are the things that we already know about Texas Tech? Texas Tech has been in the College World Series for the last 6 years. Texas Tech has won the Big 12 3 of the last 4 years. Texas Tech has had 7 players drafted in this year's draft. Tim Tadlock, the head coach of Texas Tech, has had 48 players drafted over his course of time at Texas Tech. One of the last things you can look at is looking at Texas Tech. Okay, who'd they play this year? And you do this for any team that you're looking at. So Texas Tech, as you go through their schedule, you're saying, okay, they played Oregon from the Pac-12. Oregon did not make the NCAA tournament. They played Kentucky from the SEC. There's New Mexico State. There's Nebraska, who did play in the tournament. Tech also played Mississippi State, who's at the College World Series. They're on the other side of the bracket. You lost to Mississippi State 4-2 at a game earlier this year in Frisco, Texas. Keep looking through. Some teams are just looking for some common opponents. But looky here. On March 21st, Texas Tech played Michigan. Played them 3 times. Beat them 11-2. Beat them 10-3. Beat them 8-5. That's a team that you're playing in the first round of the College World Series. So gives you some more things to go on there. That Texas Tech really manhandled Michigan in the 3 games in which they played them. 21-29, outscoring them 29-10, of course, across 3 games. One of the other things I would do is I would print out all the box scores from those games to look and see how they fared against Michigan. I don't know who Michigan is starting against Texas Tech, but one of the things I would want to see is Michigan is who Michigan's starting on the mound. I don't know if it's the same guy, but I do know that Tech will start Micah Dallas. So if you look here across the line, Micah pitched when he played Michigan earlier this year. He pitched 5 innings. IP is innings pitched. He allowed 3 hits, 1 run. It was earned. He did not walk any batters, and he struck out 7. And then you see some other things. He faced 18 batters. You see BF as batters faced. Flyouts 4, groundouts 4, and then you had the stolen bases. Not stolen bases rather, but strikeouts. And then NP is number of pitches. It's not filled out here, but you would know if you're talking about Micah Dallas. Last time out against Michigan, he went 5 innings, got the win, because you see that here. Got the win. Win 2-0. That was his 2nd win of the year. And already you're piecing it together. When Micah faced them last time, it was his 2nd win of the year. Went 5 innings, only allowed 1 run in those 5 innings. You look up here at Michigan. Henry, I don't know if Henry is starting for Michigan or not when we face him. But Henry went 4 2/3 inning. You see innings pitched, which means he recorded 2 outs in the 5th inning. He pitched through the 5th inning and got 2 outs. Then somebody else came in. Page here below him came in to finish the 5th. He allowed 7 hits. He allowed 6 runs. None of them earned. So what does that tell you when you're looking at that? When you see he gave up 6 runs, none of them earned, walked 2, struck out 4. 0 earned run means there were some errors. So you look up ahead here, you look back up, Michigan fielding, Brewer, Donovan, Kerr, Blomgren, all with errors, and that led to some runs. And so that would maybe lead me to, when you look at something like that, it would tell you, I might want to know more about what actually happened in that game. So I would go back because there must have been some errors to lead to some runs scored for Michigan. So there's a video recap here. And as I look at the story, Dallas strikes out 7 in his first collegiate start. So that was Micah Dallas's first ever start as a college pitcher, something you would put in your notes. Tommy Henry, see here in the story, Tommy Henry, Michigan starter, his first loss of the season. Henry just allowed 2 base runners in the first 4 innings before Tech piled up 6 runs on 6 hits in the 5th. So as I'm reading, Cam Warren got it started with leadoff double, coming around to score on a base hit from freshman Max Marshak. Sophomore Gabe Holt reached on an infield error, so there's an error. Tech rattled off 3 straight RBI hits with freshmen Cole Stillwell and juniors Josh Young and Brian Klein driving in runs. Tanner O'Tremble capped the inning with an RBI single to center that made it 6-1. Now, what does that tell me is when Cam got it started with the double, there was probably 2 outs in the inning because all of the runs that scored in that inning were unearned, which means the pitcher should have been out of the inning, but an error or something else caused that to happen. So there's a lot that goes into it. You've got to look at these things and really pay attention and prep and do those things. So I could go back here. I don't know if I can find it now or not. Something called a play-by-play. We go to the 5th inning. That's when Tech scored the runs. And there you see Warren doubled to left. Fulford popped up to first on a bunt. Warren advanced to third on a throwing error by the first baseman. Marshak singled to right center. Warren scored. It was unearned because you would have thought he wouldn't have been at third base on that. Now, Gabe Holt reached on an error by the shortstop. which would have been the third out of the inning if the other errors hadn't been played, and that's why every other run in the inning was unearned. So that's something that if you're a Michigan fan, you're feeling pretty good. Is hey, we allowed a lot of unearned runs to Tech. Henry actually pitched pretty well against him. All things that go into your story. So what we're just looking for you to develop a story around these two teams. The other thing I would look at, so you've already got a lot of storylines. If you look at the overall stats for Texas Tech, you want to talk about three of the key guys, and you're going to talk to the coach beforehand. The coach will point out some guys to you. But if you just want to look at stats, there you go. Cam Warren, Josh Young here at the top. I might also talk about a guy like Kurt Wilson who hit the home run for Tech to win the super regional against Oklahoma State. So I'd look some things up about Cam. I would go to his bio page. I would find some things about him. Same for Josh. Both these guys drafted in the draft, and probably the third person I might talk about too. I mentioned Kurt Wilson, but Gabe Holt. Gabe is a guy that's injured. He may or may not play. If you look across the stat line, he leads the team in stolen bases with 28. He's got an on-base percentage of .413. He's our leadoff hitter. He gets on base a lot. He makes things go. Also drafted as a sophomore. And then I would look down at the pitchers and find three pitchers. And one of the things I would look at here is just some numbers that stand out. Clayton Beater leads the team in saves. SV is saved with 8 saves. Connor Queen has 4 wins. There you see Micah Dallas, the starter, is 7-0. We do know that Caleb Killian will start a game, and there Caleb is 8-3. So all kinds of things that you can see to put together. I would then go to Caleb's bio, Micah's bio, and learn a little bit more about them. So let's go right here. One of the things that I noticed is a lot of people call Josh Young Josh Jung, and that's not something that you want to do. So you got to really look at a pronunciation guide too. So let's look at Gabe here. Here's Gabe Holt's bio. You can see what he did last year, his freshman year. You can see what he did in high school. You can see that he's the son of Greg and Christy Holt. You can look up where he was. If you look at this, it has honors. It has where he was a team leader, where his record said he recorded the most at-bats ever by a Texas Tech second baseman last year with 270. Also had the second most hits ever by a Texas Tech second baseman last year with 94. So all these things would go into your mix, and that you would talk about them. So maybe in your pregame, you're talking about players to look for each team and why we should look at that. So I'm asking you to name 3 hitters and 3 pitchers, and then give us some more information about the team. So just a way to do it. Again, you cannot do Texas Tech, but you can do one of the other schools. I will put a link to all of their at least their home pages, and from there you've got to be a little bit. I'm asking you to be a little bit creative and look at the Big Ten page for Michigan. If you're doing an SEC school and there's 4 of them, look at their SEC school and see how they did against each other, how they did in the league, all those things, because you got 4 SEC teams in the World Series. All of this goes again. This seems like a lot of tedious work, and it is. And again, it goes back to preparation. You want to be prepared, and this would be a good experience for you too. If you want to do Michigan, then when you're watching the Tech Michigan game, you're going to know more than your friends about a lot of the Michigan guys, because you're going to have done a little research on them to see what they've done and who some of their key guys are this year. If you do one of the other teams and the other games, same thing. As you're watching it, you go, hey, look for so and so. Vanderbilt's got a guy that threw a no-hitter last week. Arkansas is a team that was 1 out away from winning the College World Series last year. They're back this year. And how does that all affect it? Who's on the team this year that was on the team last year? Florida State is playing for a coach who's in his final year as the head coach of Florida State. He's been there 40-some-odd years, never won the College World Series. They weren't expected to go this year, and they're now playing kind of with a purpose, a mission to help out their head coach. Auburn is a team kind of like Texas Tech. The basketball team played in the Final Four. Now they're playing in the College World Series. No one expected them to get where they are. And here they are. They beat North Carolina on the road to get in. There's a million different storylines for all these teams. I'm asking you to do a little research about them, read about them, find a story about them that you can pull some guys out of. There might even be somewhere that said, hey, 3 guys to watch or something to watch for these teams. I don't care how you do it. Maybe quote a source if you use the source, but get it done. Also remember, a lot of the things we're talking about, just little things we're talking about in the videos and on the slides will be on your test number 1 early next week. And also remember that this assignment will be due on Friday, I believe. And then also remember, get on the message boards and answer some of those questions, discussion boards. It's really easy to do, easy way to get 50 points. Again, I'm very disappointed a lot of you haven't been doing that. So good luck on this. Looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with, and we'll talk to you again on Friday.